We are streaming to you live from our home here in Chile, just outside of Santiago, a little place called Viña del Mar. I'm joined in the studio with my husband, Shane Krider. Welcome to Born to Prosper, our very first episode. We're going to be talking about the law of attraction on episode number 1. Well, that was cool, huh? Awesome. So guys, welcome. Shane, I'm so thrilled. Our very first Born to Prosper episode. So welcome. Come on out.
Very excited to be here, Rach. And, it's amazing how we're just getting going here with our very first brand new podcast episode. I really would have expected that we would have had some glitches getting it going here, but so far so good. So with that, let's get going. We're talking about the law of attraction. Rach, I definitely know that in my life, well, here's why I'm interested in the law of attraction. I have spent a lot of time in my life, I would say the first 26 years of my life, struggling. My life was very difficult, very challenging, and it seemed like no matter what I did, I never really got the result that I wanted. And it wasn't that I wasn't willing to put in the effort. It's just that I seem to be missing some magic ingredient. I used to look at people. Rach, have you ever known anybody that just makes it look easy?
Yeah, they're like lucky. Like, you're so lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to learn what the difference was. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if there was a difference. I thought that maybe it was just absolute luck or good fortune or anything like that. But if you ever think of some situation in your life, Rach, where you struggled and somebody else around you just made it look easy. Can you think about anything?
Oh, totally. I mean, I guess the first business that I got started in, I saw people having success and making it look somewhat easy. And for me, it was anything but easy, right? And it was a struggle. It was exhausting. Big effort, little reward. While others around me, I saw them, like I said, getting the results that I aspired to be getting myself. But I just couldn't put the dots together. But then in other areas of my life, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, I would have some success and be doing all right and be feeling great. But then all of a sudden, it's like I was my own worst enemy. I'd have some success, but then sabotage that success and it would all unfold. And boom, I'd be kind of worse off than I was before I'd created the success in the first place, right? So it was sort of short-lived until such time I got my hands on some information and, learned, I guess, how to make some significant changes that stayed with me.
Yeah, you know what? And that's the key, for me, I was happy to have any type of success, whether it was short-lived or long-lasting, because I'd never really been able to have anything that I considered to be a big amount of success. So we're going to be talking about the law of attraction. A lot of you guys listening to this may actually already have read some books about the law of attraction. There's been a lot of really great things put out there, I guess books and videos and whatnot. Oprah talks about the law of attraction. But what we want to do is we want to share a little bit maybe of a different insight to the law of attraction. I've been studying personal development since 1998. I've been able to radically transform my life really since the very beginning of my studies. I went from making $35,000 a year as a blue-collar worker to well over $50,000 a month within about 6-month period of time becoming an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you what, people attribute that to the business I got started in, which that was a key component. But there were a lot of other people doing that same kind of business that wasn't getting the result I was getting. And I'm somebody that's never got big results in my life. Mm-hmm. I'm typically on the wrong side of the bell curve, right?
Right.
But something shifted, something changed within my mindset. And I realized that thoughts are things. I realized that beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. And I started to work on my belief system, and I started to change on purpose the way I would think about things. And you know what? You could chalk it up to a coincidence,
Mm-hmm.
but how many coincidences can a person really have in their life? So law of attraction is something that I'm passionate about. Personal development is something I'm passionate about, but it's because I've got big results in my life. That was just the first, and actually one of the smaller jumps I made in my life utilizing these principles. Now, I'm not going to say that I sat around on the couch watching TV and just did like some affirmations or something
Right.
a few times a day and had my life transform. I changed the way I think, which changed the decisions that I was making. And it was like a big paradigm shift.
So for the guys that have just tuned in who perhaps are not necessarily familiar with the law of attraction, they might have come across us through Google or Facebook or whatever the case may be. Do you want to just share your understanding of the law of attraction? Then we'll go into the specifics, I guess, of how to apply it. So law of attraction, thoughts create things, but maybe expand on that a little bit.
All right. So law of attraction, well, that's it.
Thoughts are things.
Thoughts are things, but it's more than that. It's your vibration.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I very first started learning about this stuff, somebody said, what's your vibration? I'm like,
What the?
that sounds weird. I'm a little bit too grounded to believe in such things.
Mm-hmm.
But think about this. You can be cause in a situation, or you can be the effect of the situation. With many jobs that I had, I felt like I was completely the effect of the situation. Like no matter how hard I tried, no matter what I did, ultimately I wasn't really in control of my destiny because there was a boss, there was a greater situation that seemed to have more weight than anything that I could possibly do. So I felt like the effect. Now think about this. You're living your life, and let's say you get started in a job. And let's say that at the beginning you think that the sky is the limit. You think that everything is there to support you and everything is awesome and the economy is going to keep great and everything's just perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that you're young and starting a job. Because when you get older, things have happened to us for the most part, and we start to become very cautious and skeptical when we start to get too happy. And we know that we're competent, so we start going for it. I hear a lot of people that are in any type of sales talking about this. And they say that, I hit my targets, and as soon as I hit my targets and started to really make the money I wanted to make, they changed the compensation plan to make it more difficult to make more money.
Well, like they removed the commission in my instance, right?
That's exactly what happened.
Removed the whole lot.
So think about this. So in one moment, you're feeling like you're at cause for your life and what's going on. I mean, you've got things to learn. There's stuff going on. Not everything goes your way. But at the end of the day, to the greatest degree that you can control whatever's happening, you feel you're at cause.
Right.
That's one vibration. That's an example of a vibration level. And that might not make a lot of sense. But now think about this. Now let's say that the boss comes in and says, well, we've decided to change your commission structure. And, they usually position it as a positive. But at the end of the day, your pay just got cut in maybe half.
Exactly, yep.
And immediately you feel like I've got no control. And you feel like you're the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you get home from work that day, are you grumpy? You frustrated? Or are you happy?
You're looking for another job and you're a little bit fearful and frustrated and the wind's been knocked out of you.
You walk through the door and your spouse is like, what's wrong?
What happened?
What happened? I mean, they can see it.
Yeah.
Everything you do, you go to, misery loves company, right? You back out, you learn that you got your commission cut in half at your job. You're backing out of the parking space at your job and you back into somebody. You're like, oh, you got to be kidding, right?
Right.
And then you get home and you tell your spouse, next thing you know, you're in a fight about something. And then, you go, well, I'm just going to go take a shower, and you slip in the shower. I mean, that's vibration. You ever have the perpetual, never ending bad day?
Absolutely.
That's a vibration level, but something can shift in a moment and your attitude shifts and you can start to have a positive day. You can start to have a good day. Mm-hmm. The older we get, those seem like sometimes they can be fewer and farther between, but there's a reason for this. And this is one of the reasons. Well, there's a couple reasons why I think the law of attraction is so important and personal development in general. I used to be very frustrated and angry, and getting good results was something that always seemed like it was outside of my ability to do. It's like the harder I tried to do something, the farther somehow I would fall behind. Very frustrating. And, this was when I was 26. I was starting to get frustrated. And I imagine what the person I would have become if I was still living life like that when I was maybe 66. I mean, Rach, have you ever seen people out there that are just frustrated and angry?
Absolutely. They can show up. Well, when you're driving, we were driving down, Santiago City the other day, and the traffic was a little, full on or whatever. But what we do? We're going to get a hair appointment, and it was sort of 10 o'clock in the morning, Santiago, and there was this lady behind us who just randomly started honking her horn. It's like, there was nowhere for anybody to go, right?
Yeah.
Literally, we couldn't go forward, we couldn't go sideways. So she was sort of just honking randomly, but that would be someone who they're not winning in life. They're frustrated, taking their anger out on really nobody in particular. I don't even know who she was honking at, right? And I've been that person myself when things have not been going well in my life. It's like, but the key, I think, to this, Shane, I think back to when I was at a point in my life where I was not winning. So many, crazy fines for talking on my phone or parking tickets randomly, but constantly. Like it felt like every day I was getting these random tickets. And the key with, getting a control of vibration and what you think about, you bring about, is even when you are in really challenging times, is to harness the power of your mind and to actually channel your energies and thought process to what you want to create, right? Which is obviously not the parking tickets in my situation, and stop focusing on what you do not want. So the challenge is to do it when things aren't going well, to actually jump into that greater level of vibration so that you're attracting more of what you want. That's the key.
So that's an important thing. So how do you jump into that greater level of vibration? I think we can all get a picture of you're having a good day and typically better things happen to you. You're having a bad day and typically things don't.
Right. Yep.
So how do you jump into that bigger vibration? What does that really look like, and what really changes? So all of it, attitude, literally, according to quantum physics, everything that's around you, including the desk, including everything, is just basically vibrating energy. There's really nothing there. Everything's just vibrating. Everything's at a frequency. And if you break this down to different parts of life, you can kind of use this as an analogy, whether you want to believe that it's literal or an analogy or whatever. It works well as an analogy for me. And if I'm vibrating at a level let's say that when you feel like you are just the effect, then no matter what you do, a bit of a hopeless feeling, no matter what you do, it's confusing. The rug's pulled out, things change. You just feel like you're the effect. And when you're at that level, you are going to attract more and more and more of that. In fact, you can actually tell where somebody's at in their life based on, for instance, the movies that they watch. If you ask somebody what kind of movies, what kind of entertainment they like, that usually has a lot to do with the vibration level that they're at. Not always. There's aesthetic preferences as well in there.
Right.
But many times. And I know when I was younger and angrier, I used to like, more violent, angry movies. And I watch those movies now and I just can't. I can still enjoy it. I'll be honest. I can still enjoy it, but it's not like I used to. It doesn't like, they just don't work for me the way they used to work for me. But it's because my vibration, I'm totally on a different vibration. And when you're in a different vibration, it actually changes the way you see things. Two people are in the same exact situation. I was at the beach and with some friends, and we're all just having a good time. Our kids are out there. There's other families. And this one particular family had a dog that was running around, and they were like playing catch with it. It was a little puppy. It was a big puppy. It's going to be a big dog. It was a medium-sized dog now, but it was a puppy, and he's running around. And this guy I was with is like, he starts freaking out, and he's like, starts yelling at the people who own the dog about they better get the dog on the leash or he's going to, do something to the dog. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm all of a sudden in the Twilight Zone. I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, that dog could attack. I'm like, well, if you're looking at the same dog I'm looking at, that dog is just trying to chase the ball or the frisbee or whatever it is. It's not an angry, aggressive dog. That's just a dog, right?
He's wagging his
He's like
tail.
the family pet.
Right.
And but your perception changes. When you're angry, you see things in a way that are just going to make you more angry. Tell me if that's not true. When you're angry, pretty much no matter what you do, the worst thing to do, you're angry, try and have a serious discussion about an important topic with your spouse. It's going to be an argument, right? So vibration The law of attraction is based on vibration. Law of attraction basically says if you change your vibration, that you're going to change what you attract. And in my experience, it's true. And we use the word attract instead of create because it really is an attraction. Just like human beings are attracted to things that they find aesthetically pleasing. Mm-hmm. Rach, what are some things that you're attracted to?
You.
Well.
You know what? Happy people. You know, people who vibrate, I guess, joy, and they're just putting out good stuff to the world.
So what's a characteristic? When you see somebody display a particular characteristic, what characteristic is it that just has you go, you know, wow.
Yeah, they're vibrant.
That's a cool person. Whatever it was that person just did.
It could be
that's cool.
It could be as simple as just smiling at a stranger walking down the street, right? They're not walking down with a frown on their face. They're walking down, walking around just, putting some of themselves out there in terms of their positive energy.
Yeah. How about when you pull out in traffic and maybe you pulled out a little bit at a time, maybe you shouldn't have. That never happens to me, but I've seen other people do it. And the person, instead of honking their horn,
happens to you? What are you talking about?
Instead of the person honking their horn at you, they just politely slow down and they just wave you on, like, "Hey, no problem, man." Right. I mean, how often does that happen? Not depending on where you're at, more or less, but it doesn't always happen. We travel the world a lot with our we like to explore the world, and we do a lot of things, and we travel all over the place. Our little almost 5-year-old daughter, Leia, has more stamps in her passport than probably most people will ever have in their entire lifetime.
Totally.
One of the places that we explored recently, we had to do some setup for business structures and whatnot, was in Dubai. I'll tell you what, one place in the world where you're probably not going to experience somebody just politely waving you on if you make a mistake on the road. It's probably not going to happen in Dubai.
Not at all.
Probably what you're going to have is somebody with some aggression coming out after you. But it's hot there, so maybe that's why.
We got some stories about that for another day. We won't share them today.
But you know what? But let's say this. So let's say you're driving around, you're in a good mood, and you get out there on the street, and people are aggressive around you. What does that do to your vibration?
Yeah, it makes you a little shaky, makes you a little, unsettled.
Now, when you go to wherever you're going to go to that meeting or hang out with your friends. Tell me, does that not impact the quality of the experience that you have with those people?
It totally can, unless you put that little wall up, right?
You got to have a strategy to get on the other side and change that vibration. We'll share with you an exact formula of how to do that. Rach, remind me before the end of the podcast. Yeah. We're going to share with you how to, at any point in time, you can just snap to a completely different level of vibration. The challenge is to do it. You're going to know how to do it, but you're not. Sometimes when you get angry, you don't want to get into a good mood, right?
Right.
So you got to know how to be the bigger person and go ahead and get into that better mood. So vibration has a lot to do with how attractive you are to other people and what kinds of people you're attractive to. I mean, think about a business situation. Think about whether you decide to do business with somebody or not. Think about whether you're with this person, you're talking to this person. Does this person, when you're within this person's company, do you feel more capable or less? This has a lot to do with vibration. If you're in a very harsh, critical vibration, the people around you are automatically going to feel like they're less capable.
And it is a feeling, right? It is a feeling. Like, this is a good way to, judge the people that you're associating with, because at the end of the day, we become the company that we keep. So when you're mixing with those closest to you, and this could sometimes include family members as well, how do you feel when you leave that social environment, or perhaps you get off the phone from speaking to one of your girlfriends? This is the stuff that I checked in with Shane when things weren't working in my life. I took a really good look at the people that I was associating with and how it made me feel. And, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I wasn't in the circle and with the people that I was supposed to be with. So I made some changes with that. And instantly your vibration changes when you're hanging around people who are more supportive towards your goals and your endeavors.
Yep. And here's something to look at with that. When somebody makes a critical remark about you,
yep.
When somebody undermines you, when somebody invalidates you, basically they say that there's something wrong, you did something wrong, whatever. Now, granted, we need to be corrected sometimes, but there's a way to do that. In the professional world, they say, You start out with something pleasant, then you address the problem, and then you finish up with something pleasant to let the person know that you don't have a problem with them as a human being. There's just this particular thing that needs to be solved. If you just address the problem, and this is a good lesson all by itself, if we just remember this, you always start out the meeting on a positive note. You have to. Otherwise, if you start out on a negative note, the person's just going to think that you think negatively about them. I'm going to explain what that does to you on a physiological level when you think that somebody has a negative thought about you. So you start out with a positive, then you transition into what needs to be corrected without any pointing fingers making wrong, just as most a matter-of-fact conversation you can have. And then you end up on a positive note and leave the person feeling that you feel good about them. Here's what happens. Let's say you're in a situation and all of a sudden you get the idea that somebody really has a critical thought about you. It makes you feel stressed out. You know, the way other people feel about us in large part has a big impact on what we end up doing in our lives, right? Mm-hmm. So if you feel like somebody has a negative idea about you, you are going to get a little bit stressed out. On a physiological level, this is just basic brain science. When you become stressed out, the blood stops flowing to the front of your brain. Now, the interesting thing about that is that's where your higher reasoning is. Mm-hmm. That's where your empathy is, like your ability to feel, your ability to put yourself in the shoes of another human being. You know, imagine just being able to look at a person and you kind of tell what they probably feel like or what they're probably thinking right now. That is a very handy thing when it comes to attempting to communicate with other people for any reason. But that part of your brain that allows you to experience empathy, that part of your brain that allows you to have higher reasoning actually shuts off. The blood stops flowing to it and the blood flow increases to the lizard brain. Right. You know, the middle of the brain, the ancient prehistoric brain that's all about fight or flight. Have you ever known people that as soon as you got near them, you instantly got stupid? Mm-hmm. Right? I've had people like that in my life. I've had teachers that were that person.
Right. Yep.
I know the answer, and then as soon as the teacher would call me and be like, I can't think.
The words don't come out. You feel that unsettled.
The blood flow actually shifts. So the thing that we're going to share with you guys here in just a bit about the law of attraction and about how to change your vibrational state at any given time, it has everything to do with how to re-engage the blood flow to the part of your brain that you can actually use to pretty much do anything other than fight or run away.
Right.
If you want to do something more than fight or run away, you need to be able to increase the blood flow to the front part of your brain. This is just very basic stuff. So you want to look at personal development and any of these basic things like law of attraction, a lot of different ways you can look at it, but I like to bring it right down to earth to very practical things. So when I'm out there living my life, I can actually put this into use. So living my life, I get around somebody that I feel like they're very critical of me and they've got negative judgments against me. That's going to put me in a fight or flight mode. And when I'm in a fight or flight mode, I'm not going to think real well. And my interactions with that person or anybody that's around in that particular time are going to be a little bit rough. And I'm going to be stepping on people's toes. I'm not going to have any empathy. I'm not going to be able to tell how I'm coming across. You know, all of this type of stuff is going to happen. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, what kind of results does somebody get when they're in a place in their life where they're in fight or flight? They don't have empathy and they don't have higher reasoning. They can't put themselves in the shoes of the other person. They can't tell how they're coming across. They can't tell whether the other person's really understanding them or not. They can't really tell what the other person is thinking or feeling. And when we can't tell what the other person is thinking or feeling, guess what we do? We do the only thing we can do. We assume that they're thinking and feeling what we're thinking and feeling. Mm-hmm. But we're incorrect. So to be able to have a little bit of empathy and to be able to have higher reasoning is critical to be able to get any kind of result with any other person. Rach, would you agree with that?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to know what these little tricks are. I've got a couple that I've employed. You've
got a bag of your own tricks, but I'm going to share one of mine that's a can't miss. Okay, cool. So here's what I'm thinking. I want to talk to you guys just a little bit about vibration and perception. Then we're going to give you guys a little secret because vibration and perception is a very critical thing. When I was a broke employee, struggling working blue-collar jobs that were going nowhere. I'm working 80, 90 hours a week, my full-time job, only to have to do things like deliver newspapers in the middle of the night to try and make ends meet. So most of the time I'd find myself working 100, 110 hours a week. I'm sleeping 3-4 hours a night. I'm not a happy guy to be around. I'm out of shape. I'm 26 years old. I'm not around my family. I mean, I'm just not living the life that I want to live, right? So, but from my point of view, I couldn't see how to make a change. I mean, to me, life is just this fixed idea, and I know how it is, and I know that in this life that for somebody like me, I just am going to have to deal with these certain realities, period. Logically, I could see that not everybody had to deal with those realities, but I knew I did, and I knew it for a fact. But see, this is one of the things that you have to let go of a little bit. The ideas that you have about what life really is become self-fulfilling prophecies, good or bad. And when I decided to look around and see if other people were actually able to create good results, even people that had similar background and circumstances to me, I saw that occasionally somebody could. So I had to start to believe that life can change for people. That was probably my first real big step. But the other thing is that as you are just out there in your day-to-day life, you are only going to see things and understand things that are at a similar vibration as you. So if you're angry, you're going to resonate with things that are probably irritating to you. Those are going to be the things that are the most real. When you're when you're on top of the world and just celebrating a massive win, typically, even if somebody gives you some bad news, it kind of just rolls off your back. It's, maybe you get a little bit older, maybe it doesn't roll off the back quite so easy, but it can just roll off the back. We tend to resonate with, and we tend to see things through a particular lens. See, we think we all see reality the way it is, but what we're really seeing it through is a lens that's distorting reality in any particular direction. Steve Jobs, Apple computers, people used to say that guy created a reality distortion field around him. And I dare say that just about everybody that on planet Earth, that's living on planet Earth today has been brought into that reality distortion field, because we all expect the most unbelievable things out of our phones and computers and stuff like that because of his vision. But when he started talking about that vision, not everybody agreed that it was possible. But after you talk to him for a little bit, you start to believe in the impossible, right?
Right.
It's a reality distortion field. See, we want to be somebody that kind of brings this positive field with us wherever we go. And it's a big deal. But I want to show you guys this little video here. And I'm hoping with this technology that I can seamlessly get this to play. First time with this technology here. But it's a video. It's an experiment that we did at a live event. We do live events all over the world. And this event we did in Denver, Colorado. And we did, it's a vibration and perception experiment. So I'm going to play this video. Then it's just a few minutes. And after this video, I'm going to share with you guys a couple of quick thoughts on it. So let's see if we can get this to play.
But to me, to be able to see through on different frequencies, you see a completely different picture. And what appears to be going on at first may not be what is even actually going on. So perception and vibration, as you raise your vibration, you see a bigger picture, and things will look completely different than they did before. So let's look at this. This camera is set at 24 frames a second. So it's set at a perception frequency. And this water is set at a vibration as well. So if we get the camera tuned in to the water, it's going to see something different, because we perceive at a completely different frequency than 24 frames a second, right? So what we're going to see through that, this would be like looking at life through somebody else's eyes. You're at the situation, the other person's at the situation, and you're like, how did you come away with that? That's what they saw based on their vibration. To me, that's what this experiment really validates. So let's try it again with the camera. So you want to look at the TV screen instead of the water. Now check this out. Which way is the water going? How cool is that? You ever know anybody that's a bit of a pessimist? You ever know anybody that life just seems to be the same thing every single day? Anyway, is that cool or what?
All right. So that is the vibration and perception experiment. Rach, you're going to jump out.
I was going to say that's
here?
cool, but it was much cooler live. Who was our camera guy?
Well, that was Greg. He was trying to
Not show.
yeah, not show the until the proper moment. So the camera, everybody in the audience was just looking at me because I was talking, and nobody was looking at the screen. So the camera was just held off of me, basically, and off of everything else that was going on. So when you see it on the playback now, it's like that's a little bit weird. But here's the thing. You know, when you're out there living your life, if you're in a pessimistic state of mind, when you're in a pessimistic state of mind, that really influences the way you perceive reality. And that influences all the decisions that you're going to make. I mean, it's a massive, it's a big thing. And if you can switch that, it's a big thing. And if you're optimistic, and I'm not talking about just blissfully optimistic, like you have no, you know, if you saw an elephant raging down the street at you, that you're just so optimistic that you're just going to stand there and watch and not try and get out of the way. I'm not talking about that type of blissful optimism. Although some of the people that do fit that category are amazingly lucky, right?
Right, yeah.
But I'm talking about proactively optimistic. Like I want to see in 1998, I wanted to create a certain life and lifestyle for myself. And I wasn't able to do it. Or I thought that I wasn't able to do it. But the reality is I just didn't think it was possible. Now, if you think something is impossible, even if you try to do it, you're going to do it in a way that's going to be awkward and ridiculous. Imagine trying to have a judgment call. You're looking at, like, I wanted to start a business. So I'm looking at business A, and I'm looking at my job, and I'm looking at business B. Got three choices. Now, I think that making a more significant income and having time freedom is impossible. It's my experience. It's what I believe. And I look at business A, and I look at my job, and I look at business B. Well, business A actually looks like the time-money relationship is strong. It looks like, I mean, it really, but you know, it just seems too good to be true. I automatically assume that I'm missing something, or it takes a quality or skill that I don't have. Now, this could be true in attracting your soulmate. This can be true when it comes to diet and exercise and maintaining a really vital, healthy body.
And this is because your underlying core belief is that it is not possible to get that result.
It kills your ability to judge accurately.
Right.
Once you believe something, once you have a limiting belief, you just are unable to judge. So when I looked at business A, I thought I can't do that, or I'm not getting it, or there must be something wrong with it that I'm not seeing. So I wasn't even able to look at it out of my own two eyes and really see what I was seeing, because I was already assuming I wasn't seeing something. And I look at my job, and it doesn't bring me where I want to go, but I know that I can do it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I look at business C, which doesn't have, it's not really a real business, and there's not really, you know, it's more like a maybe a get-rich-quick kind of a thing. But you know what? I mean, that seems just as real to me as business A, because in my mind, I don't know. I mean, none of it makes any sense to me. So the first thing to do when you want to change your vibration, to get the law of attraction working for you, change your vibration. First thing to do is to realize that your beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. And that because of the decisions you make and because of the blindness that your beliefs give you and the mistakes that end up happening and the stress that it creates in your life and your brain shuts down, I mean, all this whole thing, those beliefs become heavily reinforced. See, I had to make, at 26, I had to decide that maybe there was a bigger truth out there. And I had to be willing to actually take a brand new, fresh look and understand that a lot of what I'm seeing, I'm actually creating. Just like, my friend with the other people's dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? That ended up being a very aggressive situation, but like most of the situations in this guy's life, but it was aggressive because, that's where he was at in his own mind. Anybody else been in that situation? Completely different experience. So the way you see things, you have to be able to let go of believing that you already know the way it is. You got to be willing to take that fresh look. And as soon as you're willing to take the fresh look, it's like you cut the cord. We all are attached to different ideas that are heavily affecting our mood and our attitude. And if we can cut the cord, imagine if you were to wake up in the morning and there was some way that you just knew beyond a doubt that your life was going to turn on a dime and things were going to start going your way, would you not be in a better mood?
Totally.
It takes a little bit of suspending disbelief to cut that cord and just say, you know what, but I'm going to do it because I can see clearly that some people do transform their lives and I want to be one of those people. This is the first step. You cut the cord, that's going to immediately allow your vibration to raise. Maybe not to an optimistic standpoint, but at least to a neutral standpoint.
So to cut the cord, that's really just a choice. It's just a decision to make. It's to observe that, okay, this is something that needs to be, done, essentially, and then just choose to do it.
Yeah, it's like breaking an agreement with yourself. At some point, you've made the decision that this is just what life is, and it's actually going back and saying, no, I no longer believe that. Mm-hmm. I believe that life is something different.
So I can relate that to my first time round in business. I failed, right? I racked up lots of debt. I didn't reach the financial result that I was striving for. And in that business, I was taught that it's going to take you 5 years in order to reach the level of income that you're striving for. Head down, bum up, 5 years, and that's just what it's going to take. And so that's what I set myself up for. 5 years later, I wasn't any closer to actually hitting my goal. And then I started another business and I bought a whole stack of that baggage with me. So in my new business, the new fresh business, which had nothing to do with the old business, they were telling me, you know what, you can get the result here within, 6 months. But I just couldn't let go of the old teachings until all of a sudden I had a single conversation and boom, I cut that cord that you were talking about. I stopped comparing one to the other and just treated the new business for what it was, which was, it was a completely new business, which, yeah.
Absolutely. So step one is to cut the cord. You gotta disagree with that old belief. And it's as simple as that. Just saying, no, I opened my mind to take another look and reevaluate. And maybe, again, maybe it's the 50th time you've opened your mind back up, but open it up again. That's step number one. Step number two is to look around and find some evidence. Find some evidence that other people are able to have that kind of experience that you want to have. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be a lot of evidence. Just find one person, one thing. And, in fact, create a bit of a habit of looking for it. We tend to go around looking for what can harm us. We look at the news every day. We have our eyes out for what can harm us. But we have to actually train ourselves to look for opportunity. We have to train ourselves to see the positive and the good. And there, as much bad as there might be able to be focused on in the world, it doesn't outweigh the good. It feeds off of the good maybe. Right. But if there wasn't that much more good, there couldn't possibly be all that bad. Life is sort of a relative thing. How good is good and how bad is bad? It's compared to what and according to who? But there has to be, things have to be thriving and surviving at a certain level to be able to see disease and decay. There has to be some picture of health and success and good doing to be able to see and understand bad doing or decay or disease, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Totally, yep.
But you have to train yourself to start seeing the good, and there's a lot of it out there. And this brings me to really the key thing. So the second thing is to train yourself to start to see how it can. See the possibility. So
looking for evidence of others that have accomplished what it is that you in fact want to accomplish yourself and focus on that as opposed to, the other stories of people perhaps not succeeding.
That's right.
Okay.
Simple. And the third, it's not the be all end all final thing in the grand scheme, but this is a great formula. It's a little 3-step formula. The third thing is gratitude. Mm-hmm. You can't hold two thoughts in your mind at the same time. You think you can. You sort of can, but not completely. And if you start thinking about what you're grateful for, and try this when you're frustrated and not in a good mood. It's easier said than done, and you won't want to do it. You mark my words. Maybe at first you'll do it, but after a little bit down the road, you get to the point where you don't even, it's like, I want to stay grumpy, right?
Right.
But do it anyways, because you owe it to yourself. You don't owe it to anybody else, but you owe it to yourself. So, gratitude. What am I grateful for? And I'll tell you what, that's a practice that I do every day in my life, is I look at things that I'm grateful for. And when I get a little bit irritated or a little bit frustrated or things aren't working out exactly the way they want it, at the end of the day, there's a whole heck of a lot more I can be grateful for than I can be frustrated at. Mm-hmm. I mean, every day you wake up is a good day, right? Mostly. And that's what it is. It's just those 3 little steps, but it's taking control of the law of attraction. Law of attraction says, what you think about, you bring about. And, you don't get what you want, you get who you're being. And if you're being angry and grumpy, you're going to get a whole lot of angry and grumpy. Learn how to be the person that, you pull out in the traffic and the person honks your horn, and instead of getting aggressive back, you humble yourself and say, I'm sorry. Give them a little, I'm sorry gesture.
Give him a pass.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, you might just give that person a little bit of space to realize who they're being. Mm-hmm. And you know what? And I've had this happen to me maybe 3 or 4 times in my life where somebody wasn't just the effect of who I was being. If I was grumpy or angry, they just didn't get grumpy or angry back. They actually came at me with the exact opposite of calmness, compassion, curiosity.
You're talking about me, aren't you?
Authentic, of course. And immediately you can see what a jerk you're being, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Better buy her some flowers.
Yeah, exactly. But but the ripple effect that this can have in your life is absolutely amazing. So law of attraction says you don't get what you want, you get who you're being. And it says that if you don't like the way somebody else is being, look in the mirror.
Right.
And that's difficult to take responsibility for sometimes, because you feel like you're justified in your actions and what you're doing because of the other person. But at the end of the day, it takes 2 to have a fight. It takes 2 to argue. And just because somebody is being a certain way doesn't mean that you have to allow it to change who you're being. I mean, who's in control? You or them. And as individuals, each of us has the ability to choose that we're either going to be in control of who we are because of who we want to be, the example that we want to set, what we want to attract into our life, the qualities we want to bring out of other people. We can be strategically on purpose on who we're being, or we can just be the reaction to everything that's going on around us. Any given moment, we have the ability to do that. And that's what the law of attraction really comes down to. And as you start to do this, your vibration will increase. And especially after you've had a few successes, even if they're little itty bitty successes. One of the things I'm really good at doing is just counting all the little wins along the way, things that wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. But I see it, and I know that I've created something positive just because of this. I count those wins. And when I see it start to happen, my vibration goes from maybe a neutral level to a positive level. And it can continue to go positive, positive, positive to the point, the next thing you know, I mean, to get around in life and to do things and to have a good experience with the people around you. Maybe they're grumpy with everybody else, but not around you. Maybe nobody's buying if you're in sales from anybody else, but they're buying from you. You're a reality distortion field. Things happen differently, more easily. Things are more fun around you because of the vibration that you bring to the table. We've all known those people. We've seen movies made about those people, and we can all become that person to a degree as we start to do this. And it's really up to you how far you choose to take this. So, my game plan in life is to attempt to create every day to be a practice to raise my vibration, and to do the 3 things that we talked about, and to just have every day, every week, every month, be at a little bit higher state because I'm living life on purpose because of this. And as I do that, I find that I get more courage, more boldness, and more than anything, Rach, more patience. How much if you could bottle patience and you could sell it by the bottle, Rach, how much do you reckon you could sell a bottle of patience for?
A whole bunch. You know what? You are becoming more patient over time. You know, which typically when someone gets older, they tend to go the other way, right? Because there's more stress that's building up on top of them, or I don't know, just yeah. But yeah, you're definitely going the other way. That's good.
Well, regardless of the reason why, and I would say you are too, which is beautiful. But you know, stuff happens in life, and it's easy to become impatient.
Yeah.
But it takes courage to reverse that. You know what? The easiest thing in the world is just to walk around being the effect of everything that's going on around you. It takes real courage to go out there and live your life and choose who you're going to be, no matter how the people are being around you. You know, what was it? Gandhi, be the change that you want to see, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that little saying, and we'll wrap up with that. That little saying is something that I have looked at, I've meditated on, I have considered it over and over in my life since the first time I've heard it, which would have been back in 1998. Maybe I heard it before that, but it didn't stick. And that's just a great philosophy to live by. But with that, Rach, that's what it, be the change that you want to see. I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit, but be the change that you want to see in the world. Something like that.
Right on. That's awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for your listening. Our very first episode of Born to Prosper. This is episode 1. We've been talking about the law of attraction. Join us next week, same time, same place for episode number 2. We'll see you there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.